Today will be better. I switched the mount thingy inside the chest mount, the part that connects the GoPro, yesterday or the day before. So I'm hoping it'll stay tighter. Was digging the video I took last night, but then when I edited it, my worst fears happened. It was all, if you watched it, you know, it was all scratchy. The something to do with the connection with the mount's arm. There is no mount on that. It's just one of those yellow, like a selfie stick, but it's just for when you go in the water. But you can use it elsewhere, but that's main use, so it can float. One of the floating guys. So I was liking it because I could do what I used to do. I just need to use my tripod, I guess. One of them. I have the tripod and then the selfie stick. I just need to get the stick. The connection part is on my 360 camera. But nice guy. I'm always waving to people and they don't always wave back, so that was nice. Maybe you want to be on camera. Ooh, what's going down here? The cops are just tow truck, not that excited. Decided to come out to Benicia, but I waited to put the camera on. Just because even though I've been up since like 5, it was like sometime between 9:30 and 9:45, maybe 10 when I left. I only had 1 cup of coffee. That may have been 2 cups. Actually, I don't know how many ounces it is, but the size of it. But anyways, I usually have a little more. But since I woke up at 5, and I've been waking up a little later the last few weeks. I was waking up between 5 and 6 for a while, but now it's anytime between 5 and 8, 8:30. Depends on how many times I wake up. Usually, if I wake up at 8, between 8 and 8, anytime between 8 and 9 a.m., it's because I woke up several times and I couldn't stay up, and I just finally wake up, or I went to sleep super late and that messed up my sleep patterns in some form or another. Yes, I do have pants on wild times, I know. It was super cold when I left, so I figured since I didn't feel good yesterday, I actually haven't felt good the last 2 days, but since I felt kind of funny yesterday, I figured might as well wear pants today. But they have a hole in the side, so which I forgot, but that's alright. I got caught on my bike or my seat. Something happened or late that caused the hole. I stopped wearing them. I think they got snagged on the hole for the brake line, and then it cut the seam open. Since it's like on my, it's kind of awkward because like my thigh quad on the outside, so people are getting a nice, could you wait any longer? I was actually having to talk about that on Instagram right before I left the house. That dude had the option and he could have gone sooner, but he waits till I'm about to hit him. Gets annoying. But I know why, because that's a sketch. I'll let it slide for him because that's a super sketchy intersection. So I can understand him wanting to be extra cautious. I still haven't tightened the straps yet, but it seems a little better. I didn't fall down yet from riding or when I sprinted just now up that little incline, so maybe it was just that mount connector thingy. Maybe it wasn't a good fit for the bottom of my cage. I don't know. Even if it's just a little loose, that's alright, I don't care. But it was flopping all around, and I could even use a screwdriver. It would do that, whether it was me by hand or various points while I ride. If it barely moves while I ride or by hand or when I'm sprinting, that's manageable, more favorable. Would like it to stay put, obvious reasons, but you know, it's kind of heavy, so I think that's the main dilemma. It's not a normal case, so that could be why. It's aluminum, I think, some other or some kind of other metal, so it's not super heavy, but heavier than most. Especially since everything I'm connecting it to is plastic, except for the screw. Was able to upload the video I shot last night this morning onto YouTube, but for whatever reason it wouldn't let, no matter how many times I tried. I couldn't pick a thumbnail, whether it was a custom one or one from the video. Not sure why, but again, it randomly turned off on me. But luckily, I heard it. Second time that's happened in the last couple of days. Hadn't had that happen for a while. Forgot it even did. Not sure why. Can't tell if it's recording. Hopefully it's still lit. It is again. I pressed it, but it's too bright to see the screen. Let's just waste the battery. Let's see. No, it gets recorded. Just as I figured. Alright, hopefully it stays on. Very weird because I recorded straight for 27 minutes last night. No problems. Or at least I didn't hear it go off. It might have. Since they were more than one, it wasn't a full clip, so maybe it did. But I didn't have to restart it, so I don't know. Maybe it didn't. And it just did it in 5 clips for whatever reason instead of one long one. It doesn't matter. I need some more coffee and water and some food. I'm hungry. I had an avocado sandwich for breakfast, but that was at like 6. It's like 11. Sometime between 10:30 and 11. It was like 10:30 when I looked at my phone right before it died. That was like 10-15 minutes ago. Nice to actually get out in the morning. I try to, but I get lazy. If I'm not lazy, I'm just tired. Cute dog. Surprised it didn't come after me or bark at me. Most of the time these days I feel I'm cursed because of my parents' dog. She only sometimes likes me, but I constantly have dogs barking and growling at me, and I blame her. She put something over me. She's been nice the last couple weeks though. Before I started feeding her and after, for whatever reason, she's been come to see me whenever I make food, which is kind of a big deal because she usually stays away from me as much as possible. Or if I'm in the kitchen, she'll just stay near the front door and wait and see if I'll give her any treats or anything. There has to be distance, but she's actually been coming in, seeing what I'm doing. My mom realized she gets in routines, and I started feeding her when my dad wasn't feeling good a couple weeks ago, and I've been keeping it up on and off ever since. And now, since I did it however many days in a row, or close to that, now she expects to get fed around the same time I was feeding her. So she'll come and see me or my mom now. She does the same things to my mom. She's a little nicer to my mom, but it's not just me. She acts very standoffish. She's very odd with her behavior. Wasn't like that at first. It's just the first weekend they had gotten her, I ended up watching her because the next day after they got her, or 2 days after, I think it was the next day, they went out of town to visit some friends. So everything was hunky-dory. But then my dad messed up his leg, or his knee, one of them. He sat down too long. He sat down for like 3 hours and didn't really factor it in when he went to go stand up. And the tumbling he went. And instead of trying to save himself, he tried to save his guitar because they were playing guitar. And so he took the L on that one, which I thought was kind of funny. Though grim, but I could totally see him doing that. I could totally picture it. It more worried about the acoustic my mom got him a couple years ago for his birthday, because it's a Martin. I believe it was his first ever Martin, so very much more concerned about that than his own well-being. But moral of the story, he couldn't walk for like a month and a half, 2 months. So slowly, as that progression happened, the dog went from liking me and my mom like normal, and then being attached at the hip. Since he was doing little to no walking, it just got her used to always being near him, and she got all over protective, and now she always feels the need to bark and growl at me and my mom for no reason. Like when he fell the other day, 2 weeks ago, she kind of bit, it was really awkward. And it's happened before, but usually she'll go under the bed. But this time, I was walking my dad to the bed, and she thought whenever I get too close to him in such a scenario that's closer than normal, she thinks I'm attacking him or try to attack him, which is fine, but not when I'm trying to help him walk. So she went to bite me, but luckily I kind of moved and she kind of grazed me. But it would have sucked because even though she's a small dog, she's a Maltese poodle mix, she has actual teeth. She doesn't have little dog teeth. Like, she's nipped at me, and I could see if she chomped in for how small she is, and that given situation, because she got so riled up more than any other time. Usually it's easy to ignore because she's under the bed, but she decided to come out and try to chase me, so I just stop and have my mom pick her up and take her out of the room so I could finish what I was doing, because I didn't want to. Normally I wouldn't have cared if she bit me, because it was whatever, just uncomfortable and annoying. But since I was guiding him to walk, awkward. So I could just gather it would be very annoying and awkward, especially because right where she did it, not a lot of space, since that bedroom was very small to begin with. But it ended up working out all right. Then I had to help him up again later and deal with the same scenario. But before I got too close to him, I had my mom grab the dog, since I don't want to deal with it again, because he fell again, going from the bathroom to his bedroom, which is like 5 feet. But I think he was just really drunk and he didn't really eat that day. The bad complication of that mixture, because sometimes he doesn't get hungry, unfortunately. But I guess he had a few beers. Their friend told my mom, so he did eat there, but that doesn't really mean anything if you didn't really eat much earlier. So once I found that out, I was like, oh, because he got all emotional and upset, and I couldn't figure out why. But I was wondering, once she said he had a few beers, she didn't say it to me, she said it to him, because he wasn't really talking. And if he was, it didn't make sense. But, so he got all emotional because he couldn't pick up his guitar. wondering if there was some connection between all that once I knew, because even though he was kind of the days before that, he was kind of out of it, wasn't feeling that good. He was up that day, and maybe the day before too. Can't remember, but he was at least up that day, moving around before he left. Yeah, I think he was up that day and the day before, I think. So, anyways, it was just very odd because he hadn't fallen or had any problems in a while, at least. It's just I kind of have a similar thing where I'm not always hungry. Probably different reasons, but mine started when I was like 16 because I got super depressed. And it's kind of lingered on. I have really weird, for me, my eating habits can be really weird because of it, because I just lost my appetite after a while. So sometimes, a lot of the time, I have to force myself to eat because I can go long stretches, which isn't always good with all the exercise I do. Not good in general, but with all the exercise I do, the food is key. It's just, I don't know. Sometimes I'm starving, sometimes I'm not hungry, sometimes I'm kind of hungry. It's just one of those things where it's different day to day for me and different throughout the day as well. So I'm wondering if something related to that is similar for him, because he was fine, but then right before my grandma died in 2016, he slowly stopped eating, not on purpose. His eating habits just got a little erratic because he was working from home, but the place was like 2 hours and a half, 2 hours away, and you had to go in like once a week, I think. But while he was working there, she took a downward spiral and ended up getting laid off because he had to keep randomly saying he couldn't work because her neighbor would call and say something. So both of us would go, or just my dad, and in doing so, it kind of threw off his eating, which is doubly not good because he already has multiple health issues. He has high blood pressure, and he's diabetic. So that those factors could have also played into it when he fell. He was acting weird since he is diabetic. If he didn't have enough food in his body that earlier that day, there could have been some type of reaction per se. I don't know, I'm just guessing. That wasn't fun though. He was so out of it. But then he tricked himself into thinking he couldn't walk, and he cried himself to sleep or something. Maybe he didn't fall asleep, but he started crying when I put him in his bed, which wasn't fun to see because it was a loud cry. Kind of awkward as well. At least I was there to help, because I don't know if my mom would have been able to help him. She tries to say she can, but she also, it's not that she can't, she gets so flustered and flummoxed and all whenever something happens to him, or in general, most times, but especially when it happens to him, anything like that, she gets a little irrational, and all she does is, for the most part, say the same thing over and over again. Like, basically, and she gets all panicky. But if it was just the two of them, I don't know if she could do it or she'd have to call an ambulance, because whenever I'm there, she just kind of stands there, says she's down to help, but then she just repeats the same thing, very panicked and flustered. Or she'll start to try to help, but then it's, I don't know, it's hard to say. Because he isn't that heavy per se, but he is. Like for him, he used to be a bit bigger, but with the lack of hunger lately and being diabetic, he's all over the place. So he's not that heavy, but if he's on the ground and he can't do anything, obviously he's heavy, because you're trying to pick something up that's over 100 pounds. Like when he fell after I got out the bathroom, I had no clue what to even do, because it was such an awkward angle, how he was, where he was. And then my mom said she tried to help, which not the best idea, because how awkward it was, and like a few feet away from the entryway of the bedroom, and a small room, not very good. So finally, I just stood over him and lifted him up by putting my hands together on his chest so I could have a good grip that way. And I just got him to his knees. I didn't try to pick him up. I just got him up because he was laying on his side. That was the awkward part. So he was laying on his side. So I picked him up just to pivot him towards the bed. And then once he was on his knees, he was able to help me out. It was just, I think, since he was so upset about not being able to pick up his guitar out of the guitar case, it did some weird mental thing to him, to where I think that mixed with the beer may have made him go in some kind of weird thought process, and he just shut down. But everything ended up okay. He was still the same way the next morning, but then it was back to normal by the afternoon, by like 11 or 12. Very strange night though, for sure. Always wonder, as I said, if my mom would actually be able to do anything. Not talking crap or saying anything, but she doesn't really process it that well as an onlooker. Maybe it could be different, but she doesn't even give really any suggestions, just kind of says the same thing, and sometimes the suggestions don't make sense. I get it, she's trying, but it can get kind of annoying when you're trying to think of something in an awkward, tense scenario, and then someone else is all panicked and upset because they care. It's just kind of, I always have to just kind of ignore what she's saying or kind of answer or wait, because it can be so annoying. I don't always know how to help the scenarios. Plus, you can get easily irritated sometimes, so it's just in such a situation, so I usually don't say anything for like 5 minutes, just because one never knows the reaction. Not talking crap, but again, it's hard to know. Hey puppy, cute chihuahua. I think I'm gonna turn off the camera when I get to the other side, because it's all uphill. I'm probably gonna walk part of it because you can probably hear my bike creaking. I did something, I think, and it's all might have loosened my cranks again. Not sure. I was going kind of fast down the hill coming here. Oh, really? Glad I came out, even if I felt funky. It still kind of feel funky. It usually helps me to ride, even if I don't feel good. Just depends on the scenario and how I feel, of course. The only time I wish I still rode bikes is after I leave this park path and I get into Vallejo, then I have to go up Benicia Road. It's such a pain. I've done it several times lately. I pressed on, but it's so annoying. Especially days when I feel crummy, like today. Going up it on a single speed or a fixed gear like I am today. Single speed sometimes can have a slight advantage because of coasting, but also for me, riding fixed can have advantage because I can more pedal control. So either or. I'm gonna get some water and then go home. Like, share, subscribe. Please the algorithm so I can get more people to come grow the channel. You know how YouTube is. Very pesky. Thanks for joining. Hope the audio is better today. Was going for it. That's why I used the chest cam. Anywho, see you later. Tomorrow. tomorrow maybe.